Oh, it is the Skyrim. Oh, oh, oh. Worry not, for the Skyrim is starting soon. Huh? Hmm. Revered and legendary dragons are more deadly than ancient dragons. They use a shout that can drain health, magicka, and stamina from its victims. Fire bad. Whenever I'm in doubt of what to do and I have a shield, I stay behind it. Walking Yarth, A Dance in Fire, Chapter 2. Oh, I don't want to go in there. I want to read. Someone please help. A group of necromancers are experimenting with conjuring zombies using ancient dangerous magic, which I fear will have unintended and irreversible consequences. I was expelled from their studies as their ambitions grew into folly against my warnings. They're performing a ritual to summon a large group of these foul, uncontrollable creatures as we speak in the southernmost area of Skyrim, and must be stopped before it's too late. Bounty, juvenile mud crab. After hanging up my sword and bow to live a quieter life, I decided to study the lives and habitats of mud crabs here at the Riften Fishery. It is my hope that one day we might breed mud crabs much like we do fish, if only everyone else at the fishery shared my interest. I am in search of a juvenile mud crab so that I may study its growth. These young mud crabs rarely leave the water, so I now need an intrepid fisherman to catch one. They can be caught in almost all lakes and streams throughout Skyrim, though a breeding ground is said to be in Whiterun, west of Broken Fang Cave. Please make haste. I must show progress in my research as soon as possible. Viria, Riften Fishery. Note to self, it's been 12 days since an adventurer took up this bounty, and so far nothing. How much longer must I wait? We met with Sadras and picked up the cargo. At least their captain seemed in better spirits, but the others looked exhausted. To make matters worse, the air was flush with news about the caravans who didn't make it, sieged by dwarven automatons on the road to Whiterun. My worry is such fears will find their way into the minds of my men, especially when the details of their stories seem to corroborate. It only serves to throw more kindling on the flame. Hopefully the other captains have a plan. We've had a few deserters already, and will need every available body if these attacks continue. It'll be difficult to convince the men to leave the safety of the tavern for the terrors of the unknown. Even without this dwarven nonsense, the road ahead will only get more perilous given the copious bandits, wolves, and other dangers on the road. Captain Inades has asked us to take a detour with the Dre's caravan to Falkreath. Staying off the main road might provide us some cover. Ours has dreamt of these waters many times, filled with strange, exotic fishes from all over Skyrim. No, not fishes. Friends. Well, at least until they're harvested and sold as food. We have a business to maintain, after all. Friendships can only go so far before gold gets in the way. The fish in my dream seemed to be okay with this arrangement, and he rarely lies to me. And so, with his blessing, I will teach you to catch these fish, and in exchange you will bring them here. Here is a list to start with: carp, glassfish, goldfish, pogfish. They are fair weather fish and should be easy enough to catch. Even so, please read the first volume of Fishing Mastery, written by yours truly. A copy should be sitting on a shelf in the back room of the fishery. When you are done, return to me and we will find our new friends a home. And you, some coin. Our blacksmith, Yofton, has gone mad. Most of the time he spouts nonsense. This all started 3 days ago. Now he won't even pick up his hammer. We've tried to talk sense into the lout, but it's like he doesn't even see us. He wrote down the means to forge our golden arms and armor, and that of the seducers, but he never told a soul where he left the blasted notes. If we weren't holding out hope that he might snap out of it, we would have already parted his head from the rest of him. Lately, he's been going on about playing under the bridge like he were still a child. That's where I always hid my toys, he said. I know his kin used to live around a half-moon mill. We should round up some folks to have a look. You've made it this far, which proves you're ready for the real work. But first, let's go over why you're here. You may have heard the gray fox is dead. It's true, but the fox lives on in the one who wears the cowl. This job will tell me if that person is you. Who am I? That's not important. Just a stranger who wants to see the cowl passed on to someone who deserves it. As you might expect, the job won't be easy. It requires fast thinking and fast fingers. But get it done, and you'll be worthy of being the next Gray Fox. Take the forged deed in the strongbox, then find a woman named Gisli in Solitude, also known as Erica's sister. On her should be the real document. You'll relieve her of this burden, then place the fake in Erica's house. She'll think she misplaced it. When the job is done, find the barrel behind the winking skeever for further instructions. A stranger. You're here about a job. You don't know what it's for, but I'm sure you're intrigued. It's all right. You don't need to know everything just yet. There's a strong box in Bully's house, placed on a dresser next to his bed. Find a way to crack it open. Your instructions for the job are inside. A stranger. The fox told me he wore the cowl to forget himself and start a new life. Yet I'm the one who can't remember. Every time we meet, he's a stranger to me. Or was it a she? It doesn't matter. I spoke his words to a beggar, told her, "Shadow, hide you." She slipped me a note that confirms my suspicions. The gray fox is dead, and now that I've seen his headstone, I know for a fact his time is over, and the cowl will be passed on. I'm gonna be the next one to wear it, and when I do, I'll become so rich, I won't need any memories. I'll just buy new ones. That was long. Fishing Mastery, Volume 1, by Swims in Deep Water. So, you have decided to learn how to fish. Good for you. It's a noble endeavor, and with plenty of practice, it can be a profitable one. Keep in mind that every journey begins with a single step, one that is usually clumsy, and will end with you falling on your face. That is why, for your first lesson, it's recommended that you stick to calmer skies and fairer climates, where the fish will happily bite on even the most unattractive of hooks. This guidebook details 4 types of fish that are ideal for beginners. They are most common on a clear day near streams and lakes, in the fairer parts of Skyrim away from snow and ice. The places one can catch these fish are too numerous to mention here, but an excellent way to begin one's fishing journey is to start by casting your line right off the docks near the Riften fishery into Lake Honrick. Once you've had your fill of lake fish, head west to try your hand at fishing from the river that runs alongside Iverstead. End your journey at Villamere Inn with aching arms and a full belly. Carp, caught in temperate lakes and streams large in size, uncommonly caught, seen in fair weather. They say the carp is the Jarl of the Karth River. Royal, stately, and austere. This sounds like it would taste very tough and chewy, but that is not the case. Eat until your scales swell. Carp are very popular for many reasons. Some even keep them as pets, but they are too big for most fish tanks. Better to eat them. Glassfish caught in temperate lakes. Small in size, commonly caught, seen in fair weather. Glassfish are a common fish one can see through like a window. They are not so different than us on the inside. The best time to catch them is on a clear day, but if you are lucky, you can catch them on a rainy day as well. While their natural habitats are deep subterranean waterways, glassfish can be caught in the open waters of warm, clear lakes when they swim above ground. For spawning, they say that if you eat a glassfish, you'll become clear as glass yourself. Goldfish, caught in temperate lakes, small in size, uncommonly caught, seen in fair weather. Goldfish are known for being kind. They would much rather talk things out than get into a fight. This doesn't mean they will be friends with your hook. You will need to woo them like any fish. Like glassfish, you won't find them in a river. The next time you think you've spotted a septum glistening at the bottom of a small pond, there's a chance it might be a friendly goldfish staring back instead. Pogfish, caught in temperate streams, large in size, commonly caught, seen in fair and rainy weather. A long, bright fish with silver scales and a claw-shaped mouth. I should ask Viria what she thinks of pogfish. Why did you write that into your book? Perhaps she might like them just as much as mud crab. You can also find a pogfish on a rainy day. Sometimes they are just in a gloomy mood. Pogfish use their powerful fins to swim up and down the rivers of Skyrim, most commonly in the Reach. Spend some time fishing along a stream, and your lure will catch the clawed face of a pogfish before you know it. If you manage to obtain all these fish, congratulations! You have graduated from novice to apprentice. If you are so inclined, feel free to bring proof of your catches to the fishery in Riften. We are always looking for new friends to add to our collection. Came into town a few days ago looking for work. The folks here are nice enough, but there's plenty of wheat and potatoes needing to be harvested, so I've got a steady supply of coin coming in. I don't think I'm going to need my old pack goat Hilda for much longer. All my bones are starting to creak, and my adventuring days are long over. Now I just need to find someone willing to take care of her. Maybe get a few coins for her, too. There's strength in those old bones of hers yet. Ah, how I'm going to miss wandering the wilds of Skyrim. I saw so many strange and wonderful things out there, pine trees as tall as mountains, old Nord tombs. I once even stumbled across a wandering spirit made of pure ice, even ran across a few folks trying their hand at taming different types of creatures. Don't know why they'd want anything but a loyal dog or trusty goat like my Hilda, though. Some of them beasts out in the wild just aren't meant to be tamed. Ran across an alchemist with a pet rabbit, and almost got robbed by a thief with a tame fox. But I suppose a rabbit or a fox could be docile enough. But that pickpocket trying to train a skeever must have been as mad as old Sheo, and I don't want to think too hard about the vampire that almost made a meal out of me. Could have sworn it had a trained frostbite spider. Sounds like the Dark Brotherhood, almost. Gives me the shivers just thinking about it. I've always despised my husband's charity, but at least it was just coin. Then he let that stranger into our home for dinner. He was an odd sort, prone to forgetfulness and a wondering eye. I wasn't sure if he was staring at my bosom or the amulet around my neck, but stare he did. It wasn't entirely unwelcome, but I wasn't about to flirt in front of my husband. Besides, it turns out he wasn't staring at me at all. He actually wanted to know about the creepy doll behind me and asked if I was expecting. I told him I wasn't, and the doll was for one of Boley's charity cases. Erica in Solitude asked us to take in a child for reasons that are beyond me. I told Boley I wanted nothing to do with the urchin, but my husband is stubborn when it comes to his bleeding heart. Luckily, a few days after the dinner, the boy just disappeared, and I know better than to care. Sounds sus. Now, this is what I call easy coin. I'm proud to be one of these saints. Every few days, Resad comes down the road and his wares are ours for the taking. We don't take everything, mind you. If he don't got nothing to sell, he can't stay in business. And then, where would we be? We just skim a bit off the top each time. Kintal should be happy with our latest take. He'll be leaving his camp up near Carthwayston to pay us a visit soon. Those damn seducers were eating into our profits until we drove them off. Up north, other merchants pass through those parts, so maybe they'll stay gone. Well, now what? Huh? Move, 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 move. I am done. My wounds are too deep, and so I have chosen to remain and lock this area. All I can do is pray that Solonus made it out and sealed this dreaded place shut forever. At least then my death will not be in vain.
Don't see that every day.
Maybe you don't. Oh. I hear derping physics. Did it stop? Come here. Where are you? What took you so long? Get behind me. Get behind me. Get Durkee. This. Get over here. Oh. Ow. Sorry. Damn these mages with their magic. Things were good here, life was sweet, and profits were aplenty before the boss agreed to help these fools with their trap. This venture will cost us the shirts off our backs, I'll wager. And the skin from your bones. The Black Arrow, Part 1, by Gorgie Gwine. I was young when the Duchess of Woda hired me as an assistant footman at her summer palace. My experience with the ways of the titled aristocracy was very limited before that day. There were wealthy merchants, traders, diplomats, and officials who had large operations in Eldenroot, and ostentatious palaces for entertaining, but my relatives were all far from those social circles. There was no family business for me to enter when I reached adulthood, but my cousin heard that an estate far from the city required servants. It was so remotely located that there were unlikely to be many applicants for the positions. I walked for 5 days into the jungles of Valenwood before I met a group of riders going my direction. They were 3 Bosmer men, 1 Bosmer woman, 2 Breton women, and a Dunmer man adventurers. From the look of them, "Are you also going to Moldova?" asked Prolissa, one of the Breton women, after we had made our introductions. "I hope you're taking notes." "I don't know what that is," I replied. "I'm seeking a domestic position with the Duchess of Woda." "We'll take you to her gate," said the Dunmer Misson Akin, pulling me up to his horse. "But you would be wise not to tell her grace that students from Moliva escorted you, not unless you don't really want the position in her service." Akin explained himself as we rode on. Moliva was the closest village to the Duchess's estate, where a great and renowned archer had retired after a long life of military service. His name was Neil Rio Must, and although he was retired, he had begun to accept students who wished to learn the art of the bow. In time, when word spread of the great teacher, more and more students arrived to learn from the master. The Breton women had come down all the way from the western reach of High Rock. Akin himself had journeyed across the continent from his home near the great volcano in Morrowind. He showed me the ebony arrows he had brought from his homeland. I had never seen anything so black. "From what we've heard," said Copel, one of the Bosmer men, "the Duchess is an Imperial whose family has been here even before the Empire was formed, so you might think that she was accustomed to the common people of Valenwood. Nothing could be further from the truth. She despises the village and the school most of all. I suppose she wants to control all the traffic in her jungle," laughed Prolissa. I accepted the information with gratitude, and found myself dreading more and more my first meeting with the intolerant Duchess, my first sight of the palace, though the trees did nothing to assuage my fears. It was nothing like any building I had ever seen in Valenwood, a vast edifice of stone and iron with a jagged row of battlements like the jaws of a great beast. Most of the trees near the palace had been hewn away long ago. I could only imagine the scandal that must have caused, and what fear the Bosmer peasants must have had at the Duchy of Bosmer what, damn it, of the Duchy of Woda to have allowed it In their stead was a wide gray-green moat circling in a ring around the palace, so it seemed to be on a perfect, if artificial, island. I had seen such sights in tapestries from High Rock and the Imperial Province. That is Cyrodiil, probably, but never in my homeland. There'll be a guard at the gate, so we'll leave you here, said Akin, stopping his horse in the road. It'd be best for you if you weren't damned by association with us. I thanked my companions and wished them good luck with their schooling. They rode on, and I followed on foot. In a few minutes' time, I was out. The front gate, which I noticed was linked to tall and ornate railings to keep the compound secure. When the gatekeeper understood that I was there to inquire about a domestic position, he allowed me past and signaled to another guard across the open lawn to extend the drawbridge and allow me to cross the moat. There was one last security measure, the front door, an iron monstrosity with the Woda coat of arms across the top, reinforced by more strips of iron, and a single golden keyhole. The man standing guard unlocked the door and gave me passage into the huge, gloomy gray stone palace. Her Grace greeted me in her drawing room. She was thin and wrinkled like a reptile, cloaked in a simple red gown. It was obvious that she never smiled. Our interview consisted of a single question. Do you know anything about being a junior footman in the employment of an imperial noblewoman? Her voice was like ancient leather. No, your grace. Good. No servant ever understands what needs to be done, and I particularly dislike those who think they do. You're engaged. Life at the palace was joyless, but the position of junior footman was very undemanding. I had nothing to do on most days except to stay out of the Duchess's sight. At such times, I usually walked 2 miles down the road to Moliva. In some ways, there was nothing special or unusual about the village. There are thousands of identical places in Valenwood, but on the hillside nearby was Master Helmus Day's Archery Academy, and I would often take my luncheon and watch the practice. Prolissa and Akin would sometimes meet me afterwards. With Akin, the subjects of conversation very seldom strayed far from archery. Though I was very fond of him, I found Prolissa a more enchanting companion, not only because she was pretty for a Breton, but also because she seemed to have interests outside the realm of marksmanship. There's a circus in High Rock I saw when I was a little girl called the Quill Circus, she said during one of our walks through the woods. They've been around for as long as anyone can remember. You have to see them if you ever can. They have plays and sideshows and the most amazing acrobats and archers you've ever seen. That's my dream, to join them someday. when I'm good enough. How will you know when you're good enough? You're a good enough archer? I asked. She didn't answer, and when I turned, I realized that she had disappeared. I looked around bewildered until I heard laughter from the tree above me. She was perched on a branch, grinning. I may not join as an archer. Maybe I'll join as an acrobat, she said. Or maybe as both. I figured that Valenwood would be the place to go to see what I could learn. You've got all those great teachers to imitate in the trees here. Those ape men. She coiled up, bracing her left leg before springing forward on her right. In a second, she had leaped across to a neighboring branch. I found it difficult to keep talking to her. The Imga, you mean? I stammered. Aren't you nervous up at that height? It's a cliché, I know, she said, jumping to an even higher branch. But the secret is not to ever look down. Would you mind coming down? I probably should. Anyhow, she said. She was a good 30 feet up now, balancing herself, arms outstretched on a very narrow branch. She gestured towards the gate that just barely visible on the other side of the road. This tree is actually as close as I want to get to your Duchess's palace. I held back a gasp as she dove off the branch, somersaulting until she landed on the ground. Knees slightly bent. That was the trick, she explained, anticipating the blow before it happened. Sure. I expressed to her my confidence that she would be a great attraction at the Quill Circus. Of course, I know now that never was to be. On that day, as I recall, I had to return early. It was one of the rare occasions when I had work of a sort to do. Whenever the Duchess had guests, I was to be at the palace. That is not to say that I had any particular duties, except to be seen standing at attention in the dining room. The stewards and maids worked hard to bring in the food and clear the plates afterwards, but the footmen were purely decorative, a formality. But at least, I was an audience for the drama to come. Good for you. Gimme. Whoops. Damn it. Always remember things too late. Blah. Huh. Blah. Blah. It is a me, a Mario. Huh. Huh. What is that? Yum. Oh. Move your tuchus, please.
What?
Ow. Go, 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 go. Oh no. Oh. Okay. 22nd of Morning Star, 131 of the Fourth Era. What was done cannot be undone. We did what we set out to do, and our commission was fulfilled, but at such a horrid cost for all of us. Together we endeavored to lay a trap here with the aid of the inhabitant smugglers and ensnare him. Knowing something of his past, we brought with us the remains of his dear departed wife, hoping that this alone would lure him into our grasp. Our plan worked, but something went horribly wrong. Perhaps it was a mishap of our magic, or the deeper magic of the weapon he wielded. I know not which with any certainty. All I know is that for some reason our enchantment caused his being to divide, and we suddenly found ourselves caught in a battle with three, where there had once been one. But with great effort, we managed to separate and contain these divisions within the chambers of this vault. But this was a small victory, if any, at all, for I have yet to determine the true cost of it. I must away. I know not how many of my guild survived the deed, for I cannot break the seals to these doors without undoing all that we have achieved. All I can do is await their return, and pray. There is at least some comfort in knowing that our foe can no longer wield his blade, for he and the magical shield are one. He is bound to it. He is now both its prisoner and its guardian. 23rd of Morning Star, 131 of the Fourth Era. Alas, our casualties were too high, for although we have trapped him here in this vault, it is now clear to me that only I and one other may live to tell this tale. However, there is no time to grieve the loss of our guild, for we must seal this place shut and report to the council at once. They must be informed of what has happened here. My colleague is severely wounded, but hopefully he has strength yet to assist me, for we must not fail. Oh, God. There is no sound all of a sudden. Well, I'm not playing without the music.